in the 4-4, hey.
Freddy P says that Usher was one of Diddy's biggest enablers, and that's not even the most shocking thing he said. Recently, Freddy P, one of Diddy's old bandmates, has been giving these interviews where he's been putting Diddy on blast in a major way. Not only has he been exposing Diddy as a predator and a shady businessman, but he's also been giving us a look behind the curtain and telling us what he says is the real truth about this guy. And his biggest bombshell? He said that Justin Bieber is the young male celebrity that's rumored to appear on the Diddy tapes. And it's really sad to say, but would anybody be surprised by that? We know that Justin had close ties to Diddy when he was a teenager. And we know that Diddy had no limits to who he would harm, which honestly is so sad, but it explains so much about the struggles that Justin had when he was in his 20s. Going through an experience like that so young can really mess up your mind, but then it gets more complicated. Freddie also said that the whole narrative of Justin and Diddy being close was blown way out of proportion because Justin actually hated Diddy. Apparently, Justin never really wanted to spend time with him or be close to him, and he was resentful of everything that he'd been through. Freddie even described these encounters they had at a party, saying that Justin seemed terrified of Diddy, as though he was reliving some past trauma every time they had to interact, which is actually an experience that all of Diddy's past victims have described. And Justin's silence is not helping to quell those rumors. It's pretty obvious that nobody in Hollywood is rushing to Diddy's defense, and Justin has no interest in speaking out about it either, which is honestly fair. I mean, he has a new baby, and why would anybody want to talk about the person who allegedly harmed them being thrown into prison anyway? That would just be good news for a lot of people. But Freddie said that Justin was never at fault for any of this stuff, which is true, honestly. I don't see why Justin should have to put out a statement or a comment when he was pretty clearly a victim of Diddy's exploitation. But it's not just Diddy who's the problem here. Freddie said that Usher is as much responsible for Justin's exploitation as Diddy is. In fact, he may actually be the most responsible for it next to Diddy. In case you didn't know, Usher lived with Diddy when he was just 13 years old. Diddy was said to be Usher's mentor, and he fought for him to be a star in the business from that young age. And during that whole time, Usher was seeing things that he later described as wild, crediting Diddy with introducing him to the world of adult activities. I was honestly shocked by the way that Usher talked about this back in the day. I mean, we're talking about a teenager being involved in the freak-offs, and Usher said that Diddy always encouraged him to join in, which is basically admitting to a major felony. But even though Usher was talking about this all the time in the early 2000s, nobody did anything about it. Because Usher was always publicly grateful for Diddy helping him start a career, which pretty much sums up most of Hollywood. I mean, we know that a lot of these stars have had to go through some awful things to get to where they are. And a lot of them have to live with the threat of extortion. If they ever talk about it, they'll be taken down and have their careers, reputations, and lives totally destroyed. It's a pretty horrible situation, but it does kind of explain why Usher took Justin under his wing. Justin was 13 years old when Usher found him. He was literally the same age as Usher was when he was living with Diddy. Honestly, I don't know how to feel about this whole thing, because there's an argument to be made that Usher maybe wanted to protect Justin from going through the things he went through, but if that was the case, this next part makes no sense, because Usher was actually the one who introduced Justin to Diddy, and it's honestly horrifying when you really look into this whole mess. I mean, there are label executives on the record describing this 13-year-old kid as genuinely beautiful and perfect and gorgeous like a woman. These are not normal ways to describe children. In fact, they're pretty major red flags that suggest that these men in positions of power were already thinking about how to exploit Justin. It's pretty obvious that Justin was being thrown to the wolves, and Usher and his parents did absolutely nothing to stop it or even protect him. So yes, maybe Usher did want Diddy to help Justin get his career started, but he also knew what Diddy was like. He even said in interviews that he would never let his own kids live with Diddy like he did, yet he threw Justin to the wolves. That makes no sense. If Usher had Justin's best intentions at heart, then he would have known better than to get him involved with Diddy, of all people. And we know that Diddy was definitely getting up to some shady stuff with Justin. He was going on talk shows all the time, low-key threatening Justin not to talk about the things he saw or did with his big brother Puff. And again, just like back in the 2000s, the world laughed it off as a rapper being kind of weird and seedy. But now we know just how crazy this was. Allegedly, Usher had basically sold Justin into a horrible, dangerous situation. And Freddie said that that's just who Usher is. He appears to be a colorful person, but he's actually a demon, just like Diddy, who helped to cover up this whole mess. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Justin has distanced himself from Diddy and hasn't been seen with Usher in a really long time. Supposedly, Usher had personally reached out to Justin to join him for the halftime show at the Super Bowl, and Justin said no. Now, in fairness, Justin has had medical issues over the past few years, so we can't pin it all on the Usher and Diddy scandal. But why else would they have been distant for this long? Freddie has said that everyone in Diddy's life has abandoned him and that they've all been patiently waiting for the day he lost everything, including Jay-Z. He said that Jay-Z didn't even have any moral reason to want Diddy gone, he just didn't like the guy. Now, Jay-Z, Justin, and Usher are totally silent about the whole thing and clearly want nothing to do with Diddy whatsoever. But what do you guys think about all this? Was Usher as directly involved in Diddy's crimes as Freddie said? Do you think that Justin is one of the many victims of Diddy? And do you think anybody will ever actually discuss this openly? Honestly, I'm not so sure anybody will ever go into detail about what happened, but I think it's pretty clear otherwise. Usher seems to have had a massive role to play in Diddy's sexual assault empire. In my opinion, he knew exactly what he was doing when he brought Justin into Diddy's orbit. He had been through this entire thing once himself, so there's no way that he did not know exactly what Diddy was up to and what he was going to do to Justin. I just don't buy any narrative that tries to claim otherwise. All we can really hope for now is that Justin has found a way through whatever trauma he experienced as a teenager. But let me know what you think in the comments below.